Well, episode 3. We're punching a couple out today, so we're on a roll. No, you can't hold us back, guys. Hold us back. We're going hard. So
Yeah.
Episode 3. If you've just joined us, thanks for joining. And we've got an Instagram for anyone that's interested. The Off-Road Yarnsman podcast on Instagram, so you can send all your questions and all that. And love people to get involved if you're new. We're on our Spotify, Apple, all that, and we're also on YouTube if you prefer to watch it. Feeling good. We're on a roll. Like we said on episode 2, we're pumped for all the people getting involved. So we can't. Obviously, there's a big delay, so we can't wait to see the reaction once we actually start. We're recording without anything being released at the moment, so it'd be cool to see everyone's reaction, if there is a reaction, if anyone even listens to it. How are you feeling about it? Feeling pumped?
Oh, mate. I hope everyone's excited as what we are right now. Again, as Jayden just alluded to, we're recording episode 3 and we haven't released episode 1 yet. So hope you can appreciate that. Yeah, we're on a roll. We're trying to pump it out. We do work flat out. And we want to answer everyone's questions, and we want to have a ball with it. We want everyone's feedback, but we need to be able to pump them out. We'll work on it in the future on how it's all going to fall into place. But yeah, episode 3, and we're on a roll. Vodkas are cold, beers are cold, and we're doing it, Russ. So
I only put my beers in the fridge this morning. I totally forgot. So they're semi-warm, but Kimberley cool, as they say.
All right. Well, sorry, guys. I didn't realise I was running with a rookie here. So he's good on the potties, but yeah, don't wrap him up as you. Yeah, mate. Yeah.
I'm trying to be off the drink.
I've just worked out he's not me. Yeah, well, I've just worked out you're not my favourite drinking partner already. Anyway, we'll work on that, Russ. We'll work on that. Because I love cold piss.
Generally it's not too bad, but especially because this is the second one we've done today, so they're getting a bit warm sitting on the table. But this is when we're at the stage. We need a beer sport alcohol sponsor, and then we can have a fridge in the background right here, within reach, so I can just reach 100%. Down. You'll hear the 100%. Fridge open and the can crack. So anyone hit us up. I suppose we sort of want to get the questions sort of started, because we don't want to get to the end and start a question, have to cut it short, trying to keep around our format. So we've got 2 questions we're sort of going to mash into one, but both answer sort of in the same thing, but answer both at the same time. So who are these 2 lovely questions from?
So, mate, we got a couple more questions sent in to our Insta page. One of the questions was from Jeff and Mark at Acetone 4x4. Jump on again, check them out on Insta. A couple of characters I've been following for quite some time, and they've got some solid humour. I just enjoy, a couple of rat bags. They're a bit like us, but I enjoy their humour. And their question, mate, was must-have items in your rig. And the other question that we got off a good mate of mine, Johnny DaCosta from Adventure and Be Adventurous, was trip planning in the Pilbara. So we've discussed this, and we thought, obviously I'm aware of the Pilbara, Olivia, and there is different trip planning methods with being in the Pilbara and the Kimberley, where we travel most of the time. It's hot, it's different to where if you're camping down where you are, Buzz, where it's a lot cooler, a lot different climate, a lot different environment. So we're sort of going to trip planning for the Pilbara, but trip planning in general. So we did discuss it, that these 2 questions, must-have items in your rig and trip planning, are pretty much a big, broad topic where having that gear in you while you're trip planning, having those must-haves in your rig, that goes hand in hand. So I hope you guys, Jeff, Mark and Johnny are happy for us to amalgamate them and answer this in one big question, because that's how we're rolling, Legends. So get on board. It's We'll start off with I don't know, mate. Like they'll essentially be answered separately, but they go hand in hand. Like I said, must-have items in your rig. I'm going to let you start this, Russ, and just tell me.
Oh, fuck. I was having a
Yeah,
coffee
in the old sloth. What do you need when you go out in the sloth? And then what do you need when you go out in the 105?
Yeah, I was just talking just before we started. I was mentioning that how you can go too extreme. So
Yep.
anyone that knows me, I've got a 1982 Hilux. And the idea of that Hilux, that build, was to keep it simple and show people how simple you can be without needing a $300,000 setup and all this gear. But then I've also got an N70 Hilux. So I found a canopy on Marketplace. It's kitted with like solar, battery, inverters, got a water pump inbuilt, got all the drawers and lights everywhere, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so good because it's so easy and set up. But what I noticed is when I started going on these trips, I looked in one trip, I'm like, holy shit, I've got this thing packed with stuff I don't even use, just because it was convenient having a canopy and drawers and having all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I sort of want to bring it up with this question is, it's almost good to keep the sort of must-haves in a way, because we can end up, and that sort of becomes all the, as you were talking on episode 2 with the reason you get 79 was, with your weight and all that, and becomes a legal thing, you can end up packing so much shit in your car. I'll start with I guess generally like the sloth, and a lot of times we go camping with my wife Sharon. Also got a 105, which isn't decked out for camping. I think it's just a car with empty boot, So, we always generally pack a stove. Obviously gas to get the stove. With my sloth, I'll just take a swag, and then on the 105, we've got a rooftop, which is great. I'm in love with the rooftops because it's so bloody easy if it just lives on the top of the car. Yeah. It's just heaven. So easy. And we've got a thicker one so you can keep all your bedding in there. So literally don't have to do anything. You just pop it up.
Yep.
You sleep and you can drink. And having that older car, the sloth, the whole Hilux, is you sort of had to think tools more because it's that old, and before I got it was just sitting in the shed, so you don't know, things brittle up and all that sort of stuff. So I normally I have got a bit extreme as well. I've got, just your basic tools and spanners and, all that sort of stuff. But being down south here is also a lot different to up north in the Pilbara. So
can we just touch on though, just quickly to cut you off? I just want to touch quickly, mate. Sorry to cut you off, but I want to let people know that you're forgetting one thing. When you go out in the sloth, you need a spare set of runners or shoes. When you all roll starting that thing everywhere you go, I believe that's been fixed now, brother. But you did have to run 2 pairs of shoes just in case the other ones ran out. Because there was a bit of Flintstone going on there, wasn't there? Sorry, mate. I thought I'd throw it in
there. For a while I literally had a battery sitting in the tray, but just couldn't be bothered because I've never actually used the car. It'd just to go down the road to get some wood or something. So I used to roll start this thing absolutely everywhere because the battery was too flat. And but yeah, I was saying that down south here, everything's a lot closer. You got shops, you probably go through 5 different towns before you get to your the beach or whatever. And we're up north, it could potentially be the town you leave from is the last town you'll see, depending where you're going.
Can be, mate, 100%.
Yeah, so down south here, I keep it really simple. Some of the trips, I think we did the New Year's trip, was literally just clothes, bedding. I had got a little fridge in the back, which we used. In the sloth, I just run an esky. I think I got off Marketplace even. Got this esky, and the eskies these days are crazy. Like once you get the esky cold, it stays ice for 2-3 days. So that's all you generally need. Just food and drinks, and obviously we'll keep your jack, essential should be in any card. Not even if you're going on a trip, should be a jack. And I've got fancy these days. I always carry a rattle gun with me because I'm always getting a flat tire or I'm lazy to pick something, but yeah. But then compared to I've done a trip up north, and it's a whole different ball game where I'm down here. I'm 5 seconds from someone. There's always someone around, or there will be someone around, or a town you can literally probably walk to. Where we go up north, and you're doing potentially 500 k's before you see someone or a town or something. So if something goes wrong, you need to be able to either fix it yourself or be able to survive until someone comes, whether it's days or a week or so it's a big difference. But for I guess the top off down here, like obviously just your sleeping and stuff like that. But I guess flash it, off your normal stuff you bring. Just generally tools and stuff down here, and water's a big one. Like I actually cut an old well, another thing with the slough is because it's got that smaller fuel tank. Whenever I've gone somewhere with people, they're always like, "Oh yeah, I need to pull in this town," and they've got still full tank. And every second town I'm pulling in, so I actually cut a little jerry can holder off my camper trailer, and I actually carry a full. I think what are they, like 20 litre? One's water, and then they've got diesel. But with the cruiser, we've got a massive tank. I think it's I don't know what they are, 100 and something for the rear tank, and so
that'd be twin tanks, mate. You got a 90 and a 60.
That sounds about right. Yeah. So that side, the diesel, we've generally, not that we need it down here, but I'll generally just pull into a service station that's cheap, and then we'll top right up there. But being a 1HZ, that also can go in the the wrong way because you got that much weight on board, trying to go up sand hills or just driving on the highway. It slows you down a bit. But it's down south I keep it really simple. Like even many times which probably shouldn't have gone down with basically no tools. But the one thing I should bring up too is the toolkits you can get these days. Bloody great, you go on a super cheap or something, and the toolkits, they've even designing toolkits for pretty much everything in a little case that you ever need. Obviously crazy different sockets and that they won't have, but they've got pliers and spanners and shifters and your basics that should get you out of pretty much anything. So I've got one of them in the 105. I only got a couple more probably. They're a great thing to keep because instead of bringing a whole spanner roll and whole socket set and whole screwdriver set and this and that, which ends up a lot of weight and storage.
Yeah, it does.
It's so much. It's got generally they get the sizes that they're most used, and you get those little screwdriver ends, and it gets you out of the shit. It's not something I'm going to roll out in the shed, but it's always gets you through. But then I'll move on to where we went up north is you start bringing a lot more water. We had a trailer, a lot of diesel. And that's when we started bringing full tool sets. We had socket sets, we had spanners. I think we even had multiple, spanner sets, and you start bringing coolant, all that sort of stuff. Power steering. I think we even had WD-40, and that was a big trip too. We were going all the way from down south, all the way to Northern Territory, all the way around, and then back down again. Went through the Great Central and Tanami Desert and all that sort of stuff. So it was a really big trip. And pretty much anything that we could think of that we needed, we brought any spare parts that we had on hand. So which, I don't know, maybe went probably too overboard, but, cable ties is probably, I reckon that is a must because the amount of things I've cable tied up.
100%.
Or,
100%.
Like they say, if you can't fix it with cable ties or duct tape, you shouldn't be fixing it. So many things, especially when you're up north, as you probably will touch on, like corrugations and stuff, when you start snapping stuff off left, right and centre. You can cable tie it up without, especially if it's a product on your car that you want to try and save, or we've had, when we went on the trip, we had a solar panel fly off and all sorts of stuff. And I'll let Brad touch on more of the Pilbara because it's I've only ever done it once slightly, and it wasn't in my car where you're doing it more on a regular basis, I'd say. So what would your be
Yeah.
your answer?
Look, for me, there's obviously when we talk about like must-have items in your rig, the first thing I'd say you need to have in your rig, and this might sound ridiculous, but the first thing you need in your rig is a person behind the wheel and a person that's navigating or passengers or whatever to have a sense of adventure. Just like that's the first thing you need. You need fuel in your car, and then you need like obviously these are the obvious things, but you need to have that sense of adventure. That just I'm going, I'm doing it, we're getting out there. That's where I'd start off straight away. Must have items. I think it's the simple things, mate. Where and you touched on tools. I know a lot of people will suggest this that even if you don't know how to use your tools, have them there just in case. If you broke down, someone could come along and give you a hand, and they need they know how to use the tools and they can help you. I'm a bit 50-50 on that, and I'll go through this as a bit of a dot point. This answer, so I'm a big believer in if you own a vehicle. And especially if you're doing weekend warrior stuff, I think it's very different. What you have in your rig as a weekend warrior is very different to the way we travel and go remote. And we do anywhere from sort of 1 week trips to 6 week trips. Our vehicle would be set up, and our must haves in our rig would be very different to you going away, to one of the ups in the sloth for the weekend. Very different sort of must haves in your rig. But I'm a big believer in if you're going somewhere and you've got tools in your car, just know how to use them basically. So know how to change your tyre, know how to fix a hose or a belt. You don't necessarily need to know how to change a starter motor or an alternator and all the rest of it. You can carry one of your Gregory's manual or whatever, and you can work that out. I don't think you have to be mechanically minded. Maybe I take that for granted because I am. Like, I'm not a mechanic. I don't have a mechanical background, but I've loved it all my life, and I love tinkering, and so I do know how to do those things, and if I don't, I can sort of fumble my way through it. But I think it's important that people carry a toolkit and have some kind of idea on, if I met you on the side of the road and you said, I've got tools, mate, but I don't know how to use them, and I said, grab me a screwdriver, and you came back with a shifter, I've lost a bit of faith in you straight away. just quietly. But again, mate, so for an example by that about, and again, I'll just do a dot point, having stuff in your car that you know how to use. We were recently away on Durkartog Island, got flagged down from some people, which will be another story. Wanted a jump start, told me he had a jump pack, but he didn't know how to use it. Don't carry that jump pack in your car. Carry it. Clearly carry it. But do yourselves a favour and just actually learn how to use your jump pack before you leave home. Don't be out in the bush trying to learn it or just rely on me as the bloke passing by to come and show you how to use your jump pack. So that's the first thing I'll say. Have tools in your car that you know how to use. And the other big things, mate, are cold and warm clothing. Like, just I think you can get through, but there's nothing, if you broke down or whatever, like I'd probably go away a lot of the time, mate, and think worst case scenario. I plan for worst case scenario. So if something went wrong and we were stuck, like, you wouldn't want to be out in the middle of the bush in your shorts and your singlet. Like, I carry a spare set of clothes. We went on a day trip yesterday and I carried a spare set of clothes. Fee doesn't worry Fee, but we always chuck a jumper in. Like, mate, we don't know what's going to be like overnight. And if we got stuck, like, you don't want to be sitting in the car freezing or like on a quad bike freezing or whatever. So, like, just carry a spare set of clothes. Or carry a rain jacket. You don't know whether the weather's going to change. You can check the weather before you leave. Just carry a lightweight rain jacket. Those are just, I don't know, simple things for me that tend to just get forgotten. We all just worry about how much food have we got, how much water we got, and how much beer we got. Like, and is the car going to get there? Like, we still need to just have those simple things. A way of being able to communicate, like, so a PLB or an EPIRB or whatever you want to call it, having one of them in the vehicles if you're doing remote, definitely have one of them. Like, now we carry, what's the other bloody thing we carry? It's here somewhere, Zolio. We've just got onto a Zolio. Plus we've got a GME, PLB. They're must-haves in a rig. Heading remote. Again, I'll probably I'll probably specify remote a lot because that's where the travel we do. We're miles from anywhere where we travel. We don't go through towns and shit. Like when we leave, mate, we pack all our shit from home, generally speaking, and then you might have a roadhouse or something on the way past, whatever you could top up if you wanted. But what other must-have items? Cooking, obviously, your water, your cooking, just any way of cooking, whether it be your butane stove from Kmart, or whether it be a couple of Jaffa lines if you're in a position where you can light fires. Different for you guys down there that can't light fires all year round. But away, get yourself an on-track meal kit. Some on-track meals, best meals in the business. There's a little plug for you, lads. Lads and ladies. But a way of just like being able to feed yourself and food and all that in your rig. Water clearly is massive. What other must-haves in your rig would you have? Like I'd say fridge. Like you can get away with an esky, but I'm a big believer in a fridge. Biggest thing is having your car set up right. So your car needs to have. It needs to be mechanically sound. Before you head out, it needs to be mechanically sound. Again, I would say when we leave to go away on one of our trips, mate, I carry a spare starter motor. We do in the cruiser. It's auto, mate. So we're not running 4 sets of sneakers and roll starting our 105 anywhere. With an auto, mate, we need to have a spare starter motor. We carry a spare alternator. We carry a spare belts, hoses. I do carry WD-40. I carry a can of brake clean. For us, you can do all your maintenance before you leave. If you're going away for a weekend, again, you don't really need to stress about it. For big trips, we carry a hub socket. I think they're 64 mil off the top of your head, 63, 64 mil hub socket for our car. And essentially, I used to carry metric and imperial spanners and tools. I don't anymore, mate. I'm with the 105, not full bottle on the 79 because I've just bought it on the 105. I'm pretty full bottle on because I did that conversion, I'm pretty full bottle on what I need to carry with that car. And I have just little simple things like even circlip pliers and that, if you're going to do a bearing on the side of the road or whatever, that I've got all shaved down with a little point on it to get me my little split rings and all that. I've got that. My toolkit's built around my 105. It could pretty much fix any Toyota in the country, to be honest with you, because it's just built around a Toyota. I mean, mate, if you've got a 10, 12, 13, 14, 17, 19, 22, and then you might have an 18 or a 16 as a random crazy nut, but if you've got that basic kit in a Toyota, there's not too much you can't fix, mate. Like those particular spanners, if you've just got them spanners, you can pretty much fix that whole car. And everyone carries a shifter anyway for the shit that you don't have, a spanner for. But yeah, your hub socket, just different stuff that suit a Toyota. I have all that all the time. What else would I carry? I'll probably miss 100 things here because I didn't really research. We probably sort of researched this before we started.
I've got a bit of an idea for us. So I'm going to do...
And mapping, obviously. Mapping.
Yeah, mapping one. Well, I've got a better idea. I'm going to do top 5 for down south. So that's excluding cooking, fridging, bedding, clothes. Top 5 pieces of equipment you'd have in your car. If you could only choose 5 things, and I'm going to do it as in I'm going down the beach, everything's close, it's only a weekend away, and you're going to do top 5 for the Pilbara. So I'll start with mine first, give you a minute to write them down. So first one would be, for me, and I know everyone says it, is a compressor. Generally down here you're hitting a beach and it's, you can always let it down with a stick, but you can't pump it up with nothing, So, and there's been many a times where we've been down south where, I've been caught off guard. You've had to let it down. You let it down so far that you can still drive to a service station. As again, generally close enough we can get to it. And even mud wise, like you get to a certain spot where letting your tyres down could help you on a track, so a compressor would be awesome. The next one would be a toolkit. Again, one of those ones you get from like Super Cheap or something that's got a bit of everything in there. So handy.
Yep.
Don't take up heaps of room. And yeah, they're just, like I said, they're not even that bad. $100, $200, and it will get you out of the shit. Another one I'd say is a big thing of water, and I'm not talking about drinking water. I'm just talking about water in general. I feel like you got a lot of uses, whether it be you get a shitload of mud in your radiator, you can clean it out. If you get a hole in your radiator, you can top it up again with water to get you out so you can get coolant.
Yep.
Then if you did get stuck and you had to survive, you've got water there to drink, even though it wasn't planned for that at the start. So generally, yeah, we'll take excess water. And I don't know about you, but I actually like getting those. It's not good plastic wise, but you go into Woolies or Coles or something, and you get those big packs of water, and you got the separate bottles. So if you ever got a hole in your water source, you've actually got. I generally use that for drinking, but if you get a hole in your water source because it's multiple bottles, you still got water, which is something to think of. Another one I really, it's probably more of a luxury, but can also be good, is lighting. So just instead of using your phone or something,
100%.
Whether it's a headlamp, or if you head to my store at Gday Accessories, you can get a light built to your beanie. Oh, well, there you go.
Well, look at you go. Gday Accessories.
But even you go you go to Super Cheap, not Super Cheap, Kings or something. You get those light packs that plug in your cigarette lighter, and it's just so easy. Whether you're fixing your car, whether you're cooking, whether you're changing a tire, trying to bait your rod up, so many different things. Lighting is just, if you're in the dark somewhere and
100%.
stuff goes to shit, your phone light might not be the best, and then especially if your phone's going flat or whatever. And then my fifth thing would be at least a snatch strap, or if you want to go fancy, get a half decent recovery kit. I've never gone fancy, and I'm probably the last person to think about, like, we've got a winch on the 105, but I've never really used it apart from winching cars on the back of car trailers or something when I'm at home because I bought a project or something. So I haven't actually used it. I've never actually used a winch to do recoveries. I've been with people that have done it, but generally, like down south here, snatch strap will get you out. Or a lot of the times, you're helping other people that need to get out. And generally on the beach, it's who you need. And then it comes back to, on the beach, I feel it's the simplest driving ever. Like sand, you get stuck, stop straight away, let your tyres down more, and then, just try and idle out. And if you're not an idiot about it, a snatch strap, if you just want to go down that road, you don't dig yourself down, you can pretty much get anything out with a snatch strap, even in mud, Certain situations, obviously, it's when it gets a bit more complicated, but that would be my top 5 if I had to choose top 5 things for down south for a weekender trip. But I've got the easy part. You've got to go remote with top 5 things. So have you thought of your top 5?
And mate, I've just written heap of stuff down as you were talking. And to be honest with you, not much changes. And it's funny because I feel like I went into this a little bit unprepared, and I apologise, Jeff and Mark, because I actually didn't research it. It's all happened pretty quick in the last 2 days.
I only just wrote one down.
So, I feel a bit unprepared because pretty much nearly everything you just mentioned, they're no-brainers, would have 100% been the things I should have thought of, to be honest, first. Compressor, mate, don't leave home without a compressor. If you've got a full drive, do not leave home without a compressor. It's a no-brainer. So I'll go for that as me one too. It's, mate, the concept. A lot of people don't like letting tyres down. For you people that don't let tyres down and destroy tracks, again, just my opinion. I'm not an expert. You destroy tracks with tyres up, and you destroy tyres on gravel roads and that if you don't let them down. So if you're going out bush and you're going on the beach and you don't let your tyres down, in my opinion, you're a muppet. Anyway, we'll move on from them.
Big shout
the
out.
other thing, mate, that goes with compressors, whether you be in the Yeah, big shout out to the Muppets that drive on the beach at £40. Anyway, the other thing I'd say that go hand in hand with the compressor, with it, and like the whole looking after tracks and all the rest of it, whether it be mud, clearly they stand out in the sand. They're just the only thing you would carry in your car. And we do not leave home without our max tracks. Treads, whatever you want to run, we run max tracks. But recovery boards, mate, they are just crazy handy. You know, like whether it be, I don't know, mate, like I don't think we've ever been in a situation where, like even just recently, the snatch strap, you can just, you've got to have a recovery kit. Like, so there's number 3 as well, recovery kit. Again, we're talking going off-road, whether it be with the quad bikes, four drives, motorbikes or whatever, you're clearly not going to carry. Apparently you do carry treads and max tracks on mopeds and that nowadays too.
Yeah.
Something I've never grown up around, but
I've never carried one in my car.
None on the sloth. They're on the moped though, just in case.
Doesn't need it, mate. Doesn't need it.
But the reality is, max tracks, mate. Whether it be to recover yourself, someone else, whether it be mud, sand or whatever, but just simple things. Example, yesterday we've got a bit of a hole in our backyard, which is annoying. I've got to get that sorted. I'm working on it. But backing the trailer in, and the trailer tilts on the bit of the side. So when we're putting the ramps up to load the quad bike, one of the ramps tries to pick up all the time. Just being able to put 2 max tracks under there and just roll the trailer up on there and level it out. As a a couple that sort of travel with a rooftop tent, being able to just because you can always dig a hole or whatever in the sand and drop into a hole and level it up or whatever. But if you've got max tracks right there, bang a couple in, roll up onto your max tracks, you've got a level car, whatever it may be. Max tracks there's so many uses for max tracks. Don't leave home without max tracks. That's my opinion. They're mad for us. I'm probably going to go more than 5 anyway, but.
Well,
yeah, mate.
With max tracks too, like I've always made fun of people using them down south because I'm like, mate, you don't need max tracks. Just let your tyres down, and generally it's been sand, but and I've like I said, I've never personally used them. There's probably situations that I could have used them, but that's that weekend warrior stuff down south. When you're going up in the middle of nowhere and you get bogged. There's no one, and you're the only car, there's no one there to, you might get in a situation where you have a winch but there's no trees. There's no one else to give you a snatch. Max tracks, obviously you watch, any of the big shows and they use them and pop straight out. So that remote side where you're by yourself is a no-brainer. And, even as I've made fun of people, I would definitely get some if I was coming up north. That'd be one of the first things I'd go buy because it's just you can get yourself out by yourself without any other cars.
Yeah, and I think that, and again, mate, max tracks are only. First things first, let your tyres down. When you go on into soft sand, let your tyres down, 100%. Obviously gravel roads and off road and all the rest of it, you do it. But at sand, it's a no-brainer. One of the biggest things with max tracks, mate, and I guess, before you get bogged. And again, everything in this podcast, you legends out there listening, this is our opinion. We're not experts. We're not telling you how to do it. I've been around it a long time, and so has Jayden, and this is just what's worked for us. So, you can shoot us down or you can agree with us. The best way, obviously, if you're going onto a soft beach, you get to know your vehicle over time. Let your tyres down straight away. When that starts bearing down, there is zero reason, in my opinion, to just lay the boot into it. I don't know, you get to feel your own vehicle and how it works. Because when you're on the diffs, max tracks are like, you can snatch out and you can max track out and all the rest of it, but makes it 10 times harder than it needs to be. But the concept of even with a snatch strap, mate, you chuck them max tracks under there and it gets you onto the hard stuff straight away. It's like coming out of sand onto concrete. That's just what that's how good they are. And it gets you on that max track up on top of the sand and then your snatches pulled you out of there. But if you've gone in there and mate, I can go to 18 pound every day of the week. Like, generally speaking, if we go on the soft sand in our 105, I would go to, like, if it's just sand and I'm not full bottle on the area or whatever, my go-to is straight away that 22, 20 in the rear, because we've got a fair bit of weight in the rear and they bag right out, and that 16 to 18 in the front. If I've got to go lower, I'll go lower, but that's our go-to. And we don't get, bloody touch wood, but we don't get bogged that much when it comes to that, because we do that straight away. And then if I feel it bogging down and I feel like mate, don't get me wrong, like on our recent trip, yeah, we had to use the Max Tracks. Just went into a beach, soft as, while I had momentum, it was sick. We had our tyres at that point in time. We were doing gravel road, so I had 26 in the rear, and I had 28 in the rear, and I think I had 24 in the front. I just went onto this little beach and just, can't really be bothered. We're not, it's going along all right. And then it just went to turn around and just buried it. And this is in the 79. Don't know much about it. Still learning, like I said. Buried the rig, put the Max Track, got out, let the tyres down to 16 in the front, 18 in the rear, and put the Max Tracks under there, drove straight out of there. There's no snatch strap, no winch, there was no one there with us, and we just drove straight out on the Max Tracks. If we hadn't have had Max Tracks there, it was going to be a long afternoon, I tell you. It was going to be a long afternoon digging ourselves out of there, and I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't feeling like digging that much that day. So we just dig, because as soon as it started to bury, I just backed off, stopped, bang the Max Tracks under there, let the tyres down some more, and drove straight out of there, no drama. Max Tracks are an absolute godsend. Get them in your kit. You mentioned cap lamps. Mate, we've got lighting on our rigs, but bugger all lighting. We've ran head torches, cap lamps, whatever you want to call them. We've been running them for so many years. It's just a part of us. If you look in our car at any given time, I've got one in my door parcel. Fee's got one in her door parcel. The quad bikes have both got one in it. My fishing, my tackle bag's got one in it. I've got one that I use for work. That's just for work. I've got one that's just on my shelf there. That's used for just running around the house. I've got them everywhere. I'm a mad cap lamper. So you can't go without them. And going back from the day of, cap lamps now, mate. Back in the day, we used to carry this little tub full of batteries. We'd go away with 3 daughters and us as adults, and every one of us had a cap lamp. And the kids don't turn theirs off. They're just, once they hop out of the car, even if it's daylight, they've just got to have their cap lamp on. So we had shares in Duracell or Energizer or whatever. We were just using that many batteries. But nowadays, the fact that you can buy a quality cap lamp, between 50 and 150 bucks, and all be USB, and everyone knows what, there's that many power packs on the market now. Mate, have a cap lamp. That's just, your hands free. You can just do whatever you want. It's good to have lighting around the camp and that. But you walk away from the camp for a piss, or you want to just work on just anything. They're a godsend. They're a must have. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the things I'm 100% full bottle on. Have a cap lamp. Get on them. When it comes to the Pilbara, 2 things I would say that are must-haves. And obviously it goes without saying, man, have a hat. That's hot up here. The Pilbara and the Kimberley, or anywhere in the top end, Costa Darwin and all that. We don't spend a lot of time over there yet, all in the making. Or just even anywhere that's in the Australian sun. I don't know, have a hat. Just have. Most people would think about a hat, but I don't know how many people have sort of gone away and just oh, fuck, I don't have a hat. And fly nets. Man, if you come to the Pilbara or even into the desert and don't have a fly net, your fly nets, our fly nets and our cap lamps are pretty much in the same hole all the time. It's just, they go hand in hand, because the difference, and it's as simple as it's just the most simplest thing. Mate, the difference of having a fly net and not having a fly net can be a really doable trip, and a let's get the fuck out of here trip. You know what I mean? Mate, and I said this. 100%. I remember I was talking about, I think it was in episode 1, where I talked about, sorry about that, a bit of a nuisance there. I talked about when we were at Steep Point, how people were booking sites and then leaving and all that sort of stuff. I did get told by the ranger at 2 different locations that people had booked So one was at Steep Point and one was at Red Bluff. When we got to Red Bluff, which and we were in just on the tail end of the school holidays at that Easter period, Red Bluff is usually packed, just people everywhere, and we didn't even think we were going to get a spot. We went in there and it was empty, and it was just like, what's the go here? Like, we thought it would have been booked out. And our mate said, like, clearly we'd already experienced bad flies at Quabba and at Steep Point and all that. And he said, mate, it's the flies. Like, people have booked here for a week, been here 2 days, and the wives said, you know, we've got young kids, let's get out of here. And they've, like, forfeited 4 days' worth of camping to go home to get away from the flies. Mate, the flies were that bad at Quabba Station. I'd got to a point in the afternoon at Quabba. I was actually cutting up bait, and pretty dangerous thing to have flies around your head when you got a knife in your hand. And I was just like cutting up bait, and I was like, fuck, like that. And just, I actually stabbed myself in the hand with a knife, just trying to shoo a fly away. And like piss and blood. But I'd got to that point, and when that happened, I remember saying to Fee, I said, I'm done. I'm just going to pour myself 6 vodkas. I'm going to jump in the swag. I'm going to put a movie on. And that was like at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I was nearly going to retire to the swag. Mate, all I wanted to do was go fishing. People were catching good fish off the rocks there. I just wanted to go fishing, but I was struggling. Like, by that stage, we'd had some really big days on the road and stuff like that. And I was just like, I'm so over this. The flies were just out of control. And, like, there's flies, and then there's those ones that just, I don't know, mate. Like, it's like they've got ear radars on them, and they're trying to be in your hole, but they don't fly and hit it. They want to be in there and, like, curled up in there or in your nose, or they want to be in the corner of your eye. Like, it was brutal. And even with fly nets, it's like, mate, trying to drink through fly nets and just, it was ridiculous. So fly nets, if we didn't have fly nets, if we didn't have fly nets, mate, you pretty much would have just had to have sat in the car. Red Bluff, mate, we had a pizza night at Red Bluff, and the flies are that bad. Clearly, you can't eat your pizza through a fly net, and it's like trying to do this. Like, it's a bit awkward. We actually sat in the car, like, and ate our pizzas in peace. But while we were doing it, shouldn't laugh, but we were watching Families, where you get your pizzas, just, mate, trying to eat pizzas, and these poor little kids, like, there was a couple of little kids that were just crying, like, they were literally crying because they couldn't just eat their pizza. And, mum having to just, like, pick up their pizza and bail them back to the caravan, like, mate, you've got a beautiful scenery, and they were out of control. So, fly nets, man, you've got to have fly nets in your kit, what was the other one? And obviously you touched on recovery gear. Like, if you're heading off-road without recovery gear, God, mate, it's a no-brainer. There's probably a couple other things. I'm glad you brought them up, mate. Compressor's a big one. You 100% have a compressor. There's a couple other things. Yeah, Jeff and Mark, let us know, mate, what we didn't miss and what you would have. I love the fact that you've asked the question, but I'd love to get a list of a few other people to send us into instead of just. And I'm sure there's, mate. Yeah, because I know if I walked out to the car now, there'd be things I'd just go straight away like, of course, like you'd have that. The other thing, with the trip planning, Johnny's question, obviously it goes hand in hand with, like, what you have in your car. Trip planning for one area is very different. Like you're saying, you've got enough fuel, you can get through towns, and then other places where, when we went into the desert, mate, when we crossed the Madigan line, for example, for all the research we'd done through, reputable people off YouTube or in mapping books or through ringing, the South Australian, whatever the organisation is there, the Lands Council or whatever, and they give you before you go in, when you buy your permit to do the Simo crossing, they send you out a brochure, and it's got all these tips in there of, like, how much water to carry, fuel, fly nets. I think they even mentioned fly nets. But you get this sort of bit of a brochure, and it gives you a real an overview of just sort of what to prepare for and what to have. But when we done all our research, we were looking at, we needed to carry in our vehicles. We had a V8, obviously a 200 series, a 79 single cab, a 79 dual cab, my dad's Hilux, and us in the old Dinosaur 105. I carried across there 240 litres of fuel. I only ended up using 170 of it. So we had a shitload of fuel left over. I'd rather be having it than not having it. But as you can imagine, going across the Simpson Desert with 240 litres of fuel, all your food, all your water, all your shit, like, mate, our cruiser going into that desert trip into the Madigan line was insanely heavy, like crazy heavy. So you can imagine doing sand dunes, and I think our average speed was around that. And this is the way I drive. We had other people in the party that drove a bit quicker than us, and there's probably people that drive quicker than them. There's probably people that drive slower than us, but we were averaging between 5 and probably say, I don't know, 5 and 20 kilometres an hour for the whole day. Going like it's slow going. We were taking in the scenery, enjoying the drive or whatever. But it just around that 4 ton mark, fully loaded, just doing this all day has its toll on you as a person, on your vehicle, on just everything, mate. So doing that trip is very different to just going down to one of the ups and just sort of balling around on the beach for the day, or just going into, like the pine forest or whatever. So you don't need as much. Your vehicle doesn't need to carry as much weight. If you're going out for a day trip and mate, if you could get away with having not a fly net if you wanted to. You just get annoyed by the flies. But if you're in the middle of the desert and the flies are havoc all the way through, she gets nasty. It's nasty out there, mate. Like you're hating on the world, you're hating on everyone. You don't want to talk, you don't want to eat, you don't want to do anything. You just want to sit in the car, again, going to the Pilbara when we leave, mate, we take heaps of water, heaps of fuel, because you don't know, like I know getting to a spot where if you drive down a track for 250 kilometres and, the tracks are where you're out here, there's nothing. And even to some of the remote little communities that you go through, they're not always open, mate. Like you might have to wait the following day just to get fuel or whatever. You carry enough of all that sort of stuff with you. It's very different to how you would set up, You need to be prepared that it's so hot out there. If it goes pear-shaped, you need shade. Just simple things like you could go away for a weekend and just not stress out about an awning. Going on the bigger trips and remote, I just reckon you got to have an awning on your vehicle. You've got to have an awning. And I think one of the biggest things, again, mate, if you're going away on a weekend trip or a day trip or whatever, and you're close to home, you probably would go away without even letting people know where you are, what you're doing. Like you and Shannon would just jump in the rig and just like off you go. You wouldn't even tell mum and dad or anything. You just go and do your thing. Yeah. Up here, man, like we've got if we go, even if Fee and I go away for like a weekend trip, so from here to one of our, say for example, one of our hot spots that we go away to, it's like 450 kilometres from here, and there's nothing out there, mate. So before we leave home, just for a weekend trip, we're looking. Our kids are our everything. So, and they're growing up. They're 18 and 19 now. So the kids know exactly where we're going. Anticipated time that we'll be there. If we get reception at any stage, we'll just send them a quick message and just touch base and let them know. Obviously now we've got the Zolio and the kids are hooked up to that. So our recent trip, we'll just flick in an SMS through the Zolio. Absolutely rate them. Great concept. And then the kids will be able to give us some feedback. So they knew where we were all the time. It's important when you're up in the top end here and you're doing those remoter trips. It's important people know where you are, mate, and what you anticipate to be your time of, arrival and return. Because it's very different. And just having an idea of roughly where you're going to be. If sometimes you can't really tell if we go somewhere and it's packed or whatever, and we go somewhere else, we try and get reception. I think that's where this Zolio comes in handy, that you can actually say, well, we've had a change of plans or whatever. Whereas, if we're yesterday, when obviously one of our daughters still lives with us, so she knew we were going out, but we didn't ring our older daughter to say, we're going 50K out of town, or 30K out of town. You pretty much got reception most of the day out there anyway, in different parts. So that's a big thing for where we travel, again, in the Pilbara and that, people just knowing where you are and what your plans are, coming up with a bit of a plan B if it all goes pear-shaped. Just being prepared to be on your own and stuck.
Yeah, 100%. I was thinking of that as well. I'd love to hear from everyone about some crazy stuff that they take with them that might not be in the normal thing. Like I went down one time with the in-laws and they were down the beach and they've got an ironing board in there. I'm like, what the fuck have you got an ironing board in your car for? And they use it as a bait table. It's perfect height. They stand there, and obviously a weekend day, it's perfect. And I was like, fuck, that's a great idea because it's like just an old metal one, doesn't have any material on it. And so they use it as a bait board. And I've heard of people taking like these crazy winches down there and they swim out and they sit on these winches and get pulled in real fast. And so I'd love to hear about either you've seen it or you take it yourself, some crazy stuff that I reckon it'd be fascinating to hear about what odd stuff people take camping. There's different surfboards and all that sort of stuff. But it's crazy. I mean, you can go on all day about what you bring to. I suppose it's
you can, mate, and I think that's where the boys said like must-haves, like, and I think they've essentially asked us to do that top 5 of, you wouldn't leave home without it, mate. Like, there's certain things you can certainly go away on a weekend trip or a week trip or whatever, even a week trip, mate, whether it be remote or not. It could be a couple 100K from home or whatever. There's certain things where you think, fuck, I forgot that. It's going to be a pain in the ass, but it's not going to be not going to be a game changer. You know what I mean? You can work around it. But there's things, mate. They need to be in that. They need to be in that rig. They can definitely be the difference between a really good trip, a really shit trip, or even a dangerous trip. So I think the things that we've sort of mentioned. Obviously, water's a no-brainer. And look, at the end of the day, me and Fee, we love our piss, mate. Like, we love to drink, so. We make sure we make sure there's plenty of vodka in there. And look again too. In the last couple of years we've started using on-track meals. Like, mate, they just go in there because our jet ball's always in there for our coffee in the morning and stuff. And just we sort of have them as a bit of a plan B. So, for example, like on the weekend, if you're going away for a weekender and your fridge shit itself, for example, and your food all went off or whatever. You'd be devastated, but you're going to be home in a day. You'd get through it. We take that back up if we're doing a big trip. Our on-track meals, we've just got a kit, and that stays in there. And, mate, don't get me wrong, their food's amazing and all the rest of it. We still love to cook a bloody steak on the barbie or in the coals or, some fresh fish or whatever the case may be. Like, that's not our staple diet. Make no mistake about it. Unless we're on the quad trips, we try and make that our staple diet. But so good having them as a backup and that's just one brand. Like, there's so many other foods, or even just like a little mate. Again, a little sort of change of thing, because this is what I do. I ramble, and I remember years ago, mate, Pat Cullinan talking about how he used to have an emergency kit in his. Can't remember what vehicle he was driving back those days. But he talks about having I don't know, I know like the Americans get into all those, whatever, the panic kits, or there's a word, like, the preppers run or whatever. Yeah. But just a kit. So if you're in the middle of nowhere, so again, I'd say something that's just sort of jolted me memory. Top end, hot as buggery, long grass everywhere, must-haves, 100% must-have in your vehicle, fire extinguishers. And know how to use them again. Not just have a fire extinguisher there, but a fire extinguisher, man, can be the difference of, you might not be able to put that fire out, but you might be able to slow the burn down, or however you want to say it, the process down. So Pat Cullinan used to have this Grab Me box, and they had a little bit of it. He actually prompted us to do some stuff when we went away, but so that had just like it was like a survival kit. So it had like one of those silver blankets in it where you could keep warm at night, some dehydrated food, for example, some water, like an e-purple, some way of communicating to rescue services. There's a couple other things I can't remember exactly, but this box just sat there. So if you were driving along and your car caught on fire or whatever, your first port of call obviously was, if you were solo, would to try and put the fire out. But get to that rescue box, drag that out, and it could give you 3 to 5 days of survival while you waited for someone to come and find you. Mate, great concept. Absolutely love the concept. we did that for quite a few years in our original 105 series. Haven't done it since. Don't know why. But we have spoken about it for quite some time. But that sort of goes on to like it's away from probably must-haves, but I think it's important. So when we were first taken off with the kids, we used to have our old cruiser, all our cars do, center console, and we used to have our PLB in there. And we taught the kids from an early age. We had a bit of a process or a plan in place. So if we were driving along, car caught on fire, I would fight the fire immediately. We had always ran 2 fire extinguishers, one on either side of the car. I would jump out and fight the fire with my extinguisher first. Fee would grab the 2 kids, get them to safety by that stage, and you're planning for the best of your ability. By that stage, my fire extinguisher shit itself. If I beat Fee back to the fire extinguisher, I grab hers. Otherwise, she gets the kids to safety, grabs the fire extinguisher and starts fighting the fire with her extinguisher. In that time while she's doing that, we had a kit, and probably not as extensive as that, but we would grab a kit and get it out of there. And then, so that was our plan for a fire. The other plan we taught the kids as young kids, haven't done it for quite a few years now, in that roof console was that PLB. So if we were ever to have an accident, touch wood, a head-on or a rollover or whatever the case may be, the kids could reach that PLB and we taught them how to use it. They were little kids, mate.
Yeah,
if they fucked it up, like, not much you can do about it, but at least we ran through a scenario of if it happened and mum and dad were unconscious, that one of these kids could raise the alarm. And then vice versa, so we all knew where it was, we all knew how to use it. Man, I think that, again, it's just what we did. I'm not telling people this is how you should do it. I think it's important it's probably no different to essentially, if you're going into a river crossing, have your snatch strap hooked up, ready to go, or your winch cable all rolled out or whatever. Don't just go into it and then go, oh, I've got to get this sorted. Do you know what I mean? Sort of pre-plan for all that sort of stuff. And plenty of people do it. You can watch YouTube and you only need to watch Nolan's Brook or, Nolan's Crossing, how many people get in the middle and it's like, fuck. But then, I think over time people have seen enough and learned enough that, man, be prepared. So it's no different. If you go on, anywhere in the bush or whatever, have a bit of an idea. So, and we've spoken about it for years, mate, about just even getting organised for snake bites and that sort of stuff. It's probably going on to different topics, but, I'm just going to roll with it. But we've always had a belief, mate, that Fee needs to know how to drive the car in full drive, in tough conditions. She needs to know how to load the quad bikes onto the trailer. She needs to know everything I know. And it's not, I'm not being sexist or whatever, but, man, there's men's jobs and there's women's jobs in our home. What you do in your home is your choice. But in our home, we have men's and women's jobs. We're both capable of doing both. But Fee does all the planning of accommodation, mapping, food. I do all the mechanical stuff, making sure everything's going good there, making sure all our camping gear is in good. Like, we've just got our roles that we play within our Red Dust Adventures as such.
Yeah.
But it's important that I know how to cook and Fee knows how to drive the car. So if I was to break my leg, well, I can't have my wife saying, well, I can't drive the car. What do I fucking do?
Yeah.
Well, you need to drive the car, sweetheart. So I think all that sort of stuff needs to be put in place.
Yeah,
it does, mate. It does.
Just a little, and it wasn't anything crazy extreme, but we're almost up to an hour already. I only just started. But we got down to Yugarup and went down with my mum and all that, and set up camp. And the weather was a little bit shit, and try to park cars, get out of the weather, and kids are a bit miserable. And I was like, "I'll light you as a fire." And I just bought, I think, like that week, brand new axe. It was a nice axe. And assemble thing was cut. We'd got there late, cut and kindling straight to the end of my thumb. And sorry for people that don't want to hear that, but it went straight to my thumb. And it was only the very tip, wasn't like anything crazy. And
just the tip, mate. We all love just the
tip. The new slogan for the podcast. I'd done it and, like, I didn't realise how much fingers in that bleed. Like, And lucky we had, I think, just about every car we had, because we had the 105, I had my N70, Mum had a car, and we had like 2 first aid kits there or something. And they just did not stop bleeding. Like, we had this thing wrapped and wrapped and wrapped and wrapped, and it just still bleeding through. Like, it was crazy how much they actually bleed. And just a simple thing like that, you know, I don't know if it eventually would have stopped by itself, but, you know, imagine if you didn't have the right things. And, you know, we had quite a few people there, so we left everything there and jumped in the cruiser. And again, being close, it was like, I don't know, 40-minute drive or something, 4 drive down to the beach, and you know, got to the hospital, got stitches, and then straight back down again. Like, it's just something, like, it wasn't anything, you know, it wasn't a life-threatening necessarily injury or anything, but it's just so quick. Like, just chopping some wood and slipped and went straight to a brand new axe, sharp as, and, you know, bam, like, oh shit, you know, like, and it can happen.
So you're banned from the axe.
Oh yeah. I know, I was scared of it after that. It was a good but you know, it happened so quick, and as you're talking about being prepared, and it's even just you talking about a few things. And I've got a question for you, but run out of time on this, so I'll have to ask you on the next episode. But
you've actually prompted me. You've just prompted me again. Yeah.
But it's so, it can happen so quick, and you know, you can think these are a bit pathetic with all these different plans and stuff, but you know, a simple thing.
Again, mate, I'm just going to quickly cut you off because we've probably missed, the 2 of us have probably missed, and it's only just through that conversation. And it should nearly be like, it's definitely in the top 5. It would definitely come on like before a hat or a fly net, in my opinion. A first aid kit, man, you must 1,000,000% have a first aid kit in your rig. And again, I'm sorry to Jeff Mark, I should have researched this a bit more before we got into it, because I tell you, they are 100%, 1,000,000% a must-have in your rig, in your quad bike kit, in your boat, in your hiking backpack. A first aid kit should not leave home without them, and have some kind of. I don't know whether you have to go and do I'd advise people. We do it through work. Obviously, clearly, Fee and I both are lucky enough to be able to. We do regular first aid courses and all that sort of stuff through our jobs. And we're not experts. We're not doctors. We're not medics or anything like that. But knowing how to use a first aid kit is an absolute must. You get a first aid kit in your kit, first and foremost. Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And I'm happy to touch on that on a different topic, because I do have a story about first aid kits and the importance of using them and the importance of carrying the right gear. We can leave that for another day. But yeah, I've got a story, a personal story to tell you. A bit of an eye opener for us. But anyway, sorry to cut you off, mate. I just thought we'd just touch on because mate, first aid kits. Yeah. Go on. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, it should just be a normal thing. But we are over the hour mark, so I suppose we'll start winding this one up. It's gone quick. They go too quick.
Copy.
You know, we needed it. I reckon we needed the odd special. Should do like every 10 episodes, do like a 3 hour or something. Do like a a special. But anyway, let us big shout out. What was their names again? I'm terrible with names. Acetone and
Jeff and Mark from Acetone 4x4, mate. Jump on there and give them a shout out and give them a like and a follow on their Insta. And my mate Johnny DaCosta from Adventure and Be Adventurous. Yeah, absolute legend. Great guy. He's just, the boys have just come back from a trip doing the Holland track. So, get amongst them. Absolute legends, these lads. I think it was a Holland track. I might have jumped the gun there. I think it was a Holland track or somewhere out there, out bush there. So.
WA somewhere.
I get confused. Big going. But he's an absolute legend. Him and Kenny, and they were just out there knocking a few goat over, a bit of goat carry out in the bush and that, and a couple of other lads. So thanks, Johnny. Appreciate your input, legend.
Yeah, and if anyone else wants to give a comment or a question, the Off-Road Yarnsman podcast on Instagram. And I don't know if I mentioned this episode yet, but you can also do the old audio ones. If you want to send in a voice recording, we can play it live. And thank you very much for listening. Hopefully I don't bore you too much. give us all your feedback, and we'll see you on the next one.
100%. Thanks, Legends. Like Jayden just said, feedback is key. Yeah, and I know we will probably, and I think that's what podcasts are all about. We will start a topic and we will just do a bit of darting and shooting and go off topic, back on topic and all the rest of it. But that's what yarnsmen do. Yeah. Thanks, Legends, for your support. Jayden just tell you how you get in touch with us and how you watch. And bloody Legends, thanks for tuning in.
See you in the next one.
Cheers, mate.